Welcome back to another episode of Construction Tech Talk, where we're bridging the traditions of the trades with the innovations of the future. And today we have one of the most innovative minds I've ever met in the roofing space. We have Allen Mick, the CRO of National Claims Advisors and the CEO and founder of Just Share Media. Now, this guy is going to blow your mind when it comes to the innovative solutions he's been creating for roofing contractors based off his time of growing up in this space. A generational contractor who has worked on some of the biggest commercial projects out there. Now, this guy is the real deal. So strap in and get ready for some wisdom. We got Allen Mick. What's up, buddy?
All right, man. Jeez, what an intro over here.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sitting here sweating. I hope
Man, I am. I'm a little bit nervous for this guest too, because this guy is the real deal. I couldn't be more excited. One of my good buddies, and just someone who's really focusing on bringing these innovative solutions to contractors.
Yeah.
So what's going on, my friend?
Man, we are just trying to solve problems, big problems for the roofing industry and for really all home service, but roofing industry, insurance restoration industry, that's what it's about, right?
So what's your background? So for those of you who don't know, right, because you have to remember, everybody out here, that we have a big viewership of just construction in general, different trades and stuff like that. Now, everybody in roofing knows Allen Mick and his family, right?
Yeah,
But
like that.
kind of share the details in the background of how you got into the roofing world and what it means to you.
Yeah, perfect. I'll give you the 10,000 foot view, especially if you're roofers watching this. You probably know my background or may have watched a different podcast that I've done with Nick. But my biggest thing is I was born into the roofing industry, and less the roofing and more the storm restoration industry. So as I was growing up, I grew up traveling all around the country chasing storms. My father would go to new areas, set up a new market from scratch, create a roofing company that never really existed, or took an existing company that may have done 100 roofs a year to doing thousands of roofs a year.
Yeah.
And as a child, again, my family followed him, and we went from storm to storm, and I got to watch all of that firsthand. And I loved watching him take a business that did nothing or was not really a very large business, very small mom and pop, to 10, 20, 40 million dollars in in 9 months.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
What was that experience like when you're moving around, you go into different spots, right? It's almost a chaotic atmosphere in the restoration world.
As a kid, it was fun, right? It was always something new, going to a new place. There was challenges growing up and being in new areas and being the new kid at the school, but I think it made me who I am today. I always joke, and I talk to my wife about it. I'm like, I don't know if I would be so extroverted. Maybe I was an introvert, or maybe that's who I was going to be, but it's created this kind of personality that is Allen, and now I'm outgoing, I'm personable, and it makes me better at everything I do. And not to mention all the places I've lived, I get to relate to everybody I talk to.
Yeah.
So we talk about Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You're from Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin. I remember our house in Green Bay at the time because there was a hailstorm.
Go, baby.
And I've even got pictures of me as a little kid. There's like this closet thing, and there's this extra room in the closet, and we used to camp out in there. Right? It was cool. So I can relate to just about everybody because I have stories from their hometown or home area. And that was really cool. But again, my favorite part was probably going with my father into these new offices and watching them just create this business overnight. And that's where my love and my affinity for business efficiency and solving problems really came from.
I definitely want to go into building that brand, building that company that's able to generate that much revenue in a short period of time. But before we do, for those who might not know, explain like the character of a roofing contractor working their local market versus the persona of somebody who is doing storm work and restoration throughout the country.
So the roofing industry is compartmentalized in a couple areas, right? It's got its own niches, I would say. And one of those is storm restoration. So you have these storm chasers that follow around hail or wind storms, and they go set up shop, and then the goal is to go do the work for the homeowner paid by insurance proceeds. It's a lot easier to do than somebody paying out of pocket, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
the mentality is you get a hailstorm that hits like North Carolina, South Carolina. Literally last night, or maybe it was 2 nights ago, 4.5-inch hail hit a small town in North Carolina, Rock Hill, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so if we were still roofing, if I still had a company that was storm chasing, we would mobilize. I'd bring everybody there and we'd start door knocking and start selling their roofs. And the pitch would be, look, you need a new roof because you had 4-inch hail hit it, but you don't have to pay out of pocket. The insurance company pays for this as part of your insurance. So we do the work for what the insurance company pays. Whereas a retail is just like anything else. You own a roofing company that's in a certain location. It stays in that location. It could be in multiple locations, but the goal is to replace the roofs when that homeowner's roof fails from typically just wear and tear. Most people replace their roofs from wear and tear, and it's when that roof fails, when they have leaks, they call or they Google a roofing company. Maybe they get referred by a friend, and that roofing company goes out, replaces that roof. That homeowner, again, pays out of pocket, or maybe nowadays finances it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be your difference. And we refer to them as retail or storm catchers. And then the other one is storm restoration, storm chasers.
I'm glad that you mentioned the catchers, because there are people like here, Denver, Colorado, where they're getting storms
Yeah.
all the time. Or Dallas. Dallas is the king, right?
So in this small world
Yeah.
that we live in today, thanks to technology, people have gotten hail smart, hail savvy. And back in the 90s and the early 2000s, when I first started storm chasing, you would go into a market and these roofing companies that were retail roofing companies would just sit there and be like, who the hell are these guys coming in from Texas doing all this work? Hail doesn't damage roofs. What the hell? Like, they don't know anything, because most of the time it was markets that didn't have hail. This may be the only hailstorm. in
And they
10
don't know
years.
how to handle the insurance paperwork, probably.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So there's so much barrier to entry when it comes to insurance restoration. We'd go into these local markets and we'd be this huge disruptor. Nowadays, what do you have? You've got social media, you've got Google, you've got everything. And these people understand. If you're a roofing contractor that really, I think, works anywhere, I don't even think it has to be a market that gets a lot of hail, but especially if you're in a market like here in Denver or in Dallas, you're familiar with how the insurance restoration
You have
model
to be
works,
almost. You
right?
have to be at this point.
So you're going to capitalize. Maybe you have your normal retail roofing that gets you X amount of dollars every single month. It's probably pretty predictable. You know something about the predictability models, but it's probably pretty predictable what you do on a monthly or yearly basis. And then you hope and pray for a hailstorm, because when that hailstorm hits, you catch that hailstorm. You don't chase it. You stay in one place, you catch it. So your business may triple or quadruple that year compared to your previous years. And then it slows down again when all the roofs are done from the storm work until the next storm. So that is what we would refer to as a storm catcher. It's somebody that knows insurance restoration, but they don't chase them. They just wait till they hit their home area.
And if you're lucky, if you're out here in Denver, it happens pretty often. And when it doesn't, there's a lot of sad roofing contractors out here. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that much. So I do want to go into like building up a company and operations, a brand in a new market when you're going after storms.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Is the team, the technology, the brand, is it like, hey, you already have it and then you just move them, or do you reestablish it, or what does that look like?
So are we talking my past, how we used to do it and the different things, or are we talking about it in today's terms? Because in the world today, it's so much different and so much easier.
Yeah.
So if we talk how we used to do it, there was storm chasing to where you would do joint ventures, or what we refer to as sets, and you would go assume the identity of a local company, and then you'd bring in your team, like all the
Your
admin would be the
salespeople,
same.
admin, they're all coming with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you would do a set, and then you take that over and you pay a percentage, because it becomes a joint venture, a partnership, to that local owner, and then you leave when the storm's done.
Yeah.
You typically put if you're smart and you're nice and you do things the right way, you typically put a portion of the proceeds into an escrow for warranties, so that guy doesn't go out of business if anything leaks. And then you have a good relationship with them. Now, that would be one way to storm chase. The other way is if you're the same name company everywhere. And we've done it multiple different ways. We've done it both ways. The thought process is, if you're the same name everywhere, when you go into that new community, you are now a storm chaser. You're not going to sell as much because you're not local. People, especially in small towns, look at North Carolina, Rock Hill, North Carolina, that just got hit with 4.5-inch hail. You think those people are going to like an out-of-towner that's not from North Carolina coming into their small town and trying to steal all the business and take the tax dollars out of the city? No. You're still going to be successful because there's enough out there for everybody, and there's certain people that don't care, but you're not going to be as successful as if you were a local company. But that was the biggest challenges back, again, in the early 2000s. Nowadays, the guys who did it everywhere, like the Aspen Contractings, they're local. They went and opened an office everywhere in the country, and they've been there for 7 to 10 years and maybe even 15 years in some places. I think they started in 2011. I think it was 08, 09. So 15 years they've been in those markets. So now they are local.
Which way would you suggest?
Today?
Yeah, today.
I would suggest same name everywhere. The value is in the brand. Your value is in your brand. And even if you're just starting out, you're not going to get as much business because you're not a household name. Bottom line. But eventually, you're going to make up for that as long as you continue to build out that brand, work on that brand, have an identity, and then it's scalable and sellable. And that, to me, I'm always looking for an exit in business.
Yeah, 100%. Would you suggest then actually establishing a market then, a local market presence for good if you did something like that? Or would you say, yeah, you would? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're building the Google page, you're building out your add to the website as a location, all that kind of stuff.
My most frustrating thing, whether I was a salesman, a sales manager, a general manager, or owned my own company that did storm chasing via joint ventures and sets, was I'm creating this 10, 20, $40 million business for this company, and I'm walking away.
Yeah.
That's the value. Okay, yeah, it was great. We made a lot of money in a short amount of time, but the value was the longevity of that brand that we created. And maybe you do 10 million from the storm, and then maybe the next year you do 5 million, and the year after that it dwindles back down to 1 million a year. But that brand is what's valuable, because I guarantee if you do 10 million in one storm and that place gets hit in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to do 20, 30, 40 million. Not just because of inflation, the numbers go higher, because everybody's going to call the person who did the roof last, as long as you're still in existence. You still have that brand. You still sponsor local football games, like whatever it is.
Yeah, I like that. So what about like the team and everything like that? So if you're going to stay in that market, then you can just backfill and rehire local people then even, or how do you analyze that?
Yeah, so if I'm not from that area and I'm storm chasing and I open a local, I would look for a local presence to run the office. I would look for, and a lot of it depends on what you do each year. I would want a general manager or partner to run the entire office. You might need to scale back your office manager and your production manager, because a typical storm chasing office looks like 3 people running it. You've got a general manager, you've got an office manager, and then you've got a production manager. And that's your upper level management that runs that entire office. And then beneath those, you can hire sales managers and salesmen. So as you scale back, the first things that are going to go are going to be middle management. So your sales managers, your production managers, and your office managers. That's the first ones to get cut. And most companies nowadays have a corporate office that handle the majority of the admin or office manager work, and the majority of the production management work. So you can scale that back to just that general manager. And then the sales reps just become, they're not on salary in most cases. So that's how you scale back. You cut down the middle management.
So basically, if you're going to go chase after a storm and you want to go with the strategy that you're talking about, where after you maybe even produce 10, $20 million, whatever it might be, that you actually stay and establish yourself. When you're going after storms and you're going to take that approach, make sure that you're thinking, hey, is this a market that I want to stay in long term? It can benefit my vision of the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what about, so we're going to go to some software stuff. I want to talk about some software for the hail, insurance, all that kind of stuff. But also, too, if you're doing that model where you're opening up these different markets, right? How do you envision like CRM, sales tool? Is everybody all in the same system so the information is easily communicated? Or is everybody kind of doing their own type of thing? How do you envision the processes and technology on that side?
Business principles are universal. It doesn't matter whether you work in Denver or Wyoming. It's going to be universal. Your CRM should be the same. Your processes should be the same. And it almost has to be if you're going to operate on a corporate level. Now, whether I'm a salesperson in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then you've got another salesperson in Dallas, Texas, and they can see each other's jobs, I don't think I would want that. But their process of selling that job, their process of what to upload, where that card moves, if it's a job board, like the same way that works, the process has to be identical. It has to be the same. And especially if you have any goal in your business, if you want to exit your business in any way, it's going to have to be the same. Because that brings across the efficiency and the predictability of it.
Yeah, 100%. So do you have any advice on specific software? Because for me now with Better Boss,
Yeah.
I got no commitments or obligations to
One.
any softwares, and I'm going to keep it that way. I got my favorites, but I haven't been in roofing for a little bit here. I took a little hiatus.
Yeah.
So what, is there suggestions or any kind of hot topics that people are talking about with software?
I'm going to use a line that you've used on me in the past. The best CRM out there, the number one CRM, is the one that you actually use.
Amen.
So I would start with familiarity.
Yeah.
What is your team familiar with? Okay. If your team is familiar with a certain CRM, then you know they're more likely to use it. If they're unfamiliar with a certain CRM, they're less likely to use it. Now, if I'm giving a ranking outside of familiarity, if it's like a guy from scratch, I go with enterprise model, enterprise grades, right? So I start any business, in any venture, anything I do, I start with the end in mind. Your end should always be an exit. Now, it doesn't mean you're selling to private equity like a lot of people are exiting right now. It can be that you pass away and pass it down to your son. It could be that you retire and you pass it down to a general manager. But the end, if your end goal in your business is to exit that business, I promise it's not going to be bankruptcy. There's not going to be an end. So you create a business with the end in mind, and is that end going to be a bigger business than the day one start? Yes, that's the case. So what those smaller CRMs, those niche CRMs that can't do all of what the enterprise grade CRMs can, I wouldn't want to start with one of those because that's not going to work on the end, right? With that, you start with the end in mind. So maybe you don't use all of those, or maybe that enterprise CRM has smaller like versions of it to where you don't have to pay to use everything to start with. Then you can grow up to having the full tools of that enterprise model CRM. So that's not mainly the answer that you're probably looking for.
Well, this is what I took away from it. Is if you want to build an extremely scalable business that is run as a high-end corporation with an exit in mind, that you don't really think the niche ones are going to do that, and you think like something like Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, you prefer those type of tools.
And then I have my favorites. Like I personally don't like Salesforce because it's just, you don't need to hire an entire team to run your CRM.
It's pretty complicated. Salesforce is probably the most complicated out of all the big names.
To be fair, I've never used it, and that is coming off of third party. So sorry, Salesforce. I've never used it.
I've used it, and it is confusing.
But I've heard complaints. I've heard that you have to hire a RevOps person just to have it. So there's a lot of barrier to entry. I've heard that it's really expensive. But then you talk about the HubSpots and the Zohos. There you go. That has everything you need. I know at the end of the day, HubSpot has everything you could ever want and desire as a roofing entity. So if like I was going to start one, HubSpot's one of the ones I would use. It's Zoho. Love Zoho. Same thing. I feel like Zoho is really similar. I don't personally know anything that HubSpot can do that Zoho can't. I do know that Zoho, I don't know for a fact, but I believe Zoho has more than what HubSpot does, because I think with their whole Zoho One.
It's a whole operating system, basically.
It's basically QuickBooks, right?
It's everything. It's literally, think about it, it's like sales, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Like
Whereas
tasks.
HubSpot, you should have a QuickBooks account or some payroll service, something like that, in addition to HubSpot. So
Yep.
I think that's where Zoho would win in my book if I'm looking at the
I could see
enterprise.
that. I could see that. I got, one tool that, I keep giving free shout outs over here, but a tool I was using, JobTread. It's really a construction management tool.
There you go.
But, when you're looking at the financial aspect, and if you're doing things like progress invoicing or your estimates are pretty complicated, right? Lots of line items and stuff like that. I have that tool. I would still integrate some kind of marketing system to ramp it up.
Yeah.
But in terms of like construction tools, I think could be pretty beneficial in roofing. I would suggest that one. But like you're saying, there are going to be a lot of limitations with some of these niche tools.
And so here's something I live by. Friction is the enemy of innovation, right? Bottom line. So anytime that you jump on these niche ones that don't have all the tools, and your plan is, let's say AccuLinks, right? Let's just, sorry, I don't mean to pick on AccuLinks.
Yeah.
But they're a niche product. They're meant just for roofing, and they don't have all the tools and everything like that. So if you want to grow to a $50 million, $100 million, even $20 million, you're probably going to have to switch out of AccuLinks.
Yeah.
And the friction to make that switch is going to cost you more than it is to just stick with it. And you never want to be in that spot to have that painful, all that friction to make that switch and to make that jump. So I always say, start with the end in mind, go with that. And most of those enterprise CRMs like HubSpot have a lesser version. HubSpot has a free version. You can start today. I also, Go High Level is one that
For marketing and everything like that. Yeah, great tool.
I've played a lot with Go High Level. I don't know if there's much that Zoho and HubSpot can do that Go High Level can't. And the price point is so sexy and their ability. So I think Go High Level is one that I would almost start with. And I don't see anybody using it as an enterprise level CRM. And they're also innovating very quickly. I see with them with the quicking, like the HubSpot, I think they're a break off of Salesforce. I don't know. I haven't done so much research, but I've heard like people left Salesforce and created HubSpot.
Probably.
And Zoho is probably, I think it's like Korean.
India.
So it's like the Indian version of Salesforce, right? Where Go High Level is a tech bro like us, right? Tech marketing bro like us that created it, and he's constantly innovating it. So for what he's doing, or the team over there at Go High Level, what they're doing, I see it being comparable. If it's not today, it probably will be very quickly.
You mentioned AccuLinks, and AccuLinks is one of those tools I'm almost positive that they don't allow you to integrate other tools to it. It's an all-in-one package, which you're like, oh, hey, this is great. It gives me everything I need. But if you outgrow that, you don't have access to integrating.
I heard they won't even give you your information.
Data. You can't export the data, I heard, which is pretty wild. I think that's the only time I've actually heard of that with the CRM. Yeah. But they really want to create that friction. So if you do join, you have to make sure that you really committed to going all in on AccuLinks. If I'm looking at tools and I'm using industry-specific tools or any other tools, I'm looking at, hey, do they have an open API? Can I integrate and sync my other marketing systems or whatever tools I want to utilize? Because that's going to be key. Because if you don't, then you're going to have to transition and go to a new system.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to talk, what about on the assurance side? Is there any software, tools, apps, anything like that that people are using out in the field that are helping them maximize storms?
There's little tools here and there that you probably would want to use retail as well. I don't think there's one that lives only in the insurance restoration space. Okay. Roofhawk.ai, I would say. I think that's
okay. Tell me about them.
So Roofhawk.ai, basically, it is a hail damage detection software that's ran by AI. So you take your drone. I think you can use just about any drone nowadays, and you take overview photos, you take pictures of the roof, you upload the pictures of the roof to Roofhawk.ai, and it detects whether it's hail or not.
Yeah.
So that is one that would be just insurance restoration, and that's a pretty cool one. Company Cam is where my mind goes to.
Of course.
Who doesn't love Company Cam? You're able to take, it's an inspection software, right? Because that's such a key principle and a key part of all of this is an inspection. You always have to have an inspection. So I would want that inspection software to be built into my CRM. My mind now that I'm thinking more goes to door knocking software, right? Now, does the CRM have door knocking software built into it or not? Some of them do. And I'm sure, again, these enterprise ones, they need a RevOps guy to build them out a lot of times. You see the Adam Sands of the world.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've done some build outs and stuff like that. So like you would want to build it out custom. I would guess, and it's just an assumption, that your Zoho, your HubSpot, stuff like that would have the ability to build out an inspection type in. I would hope so.
So explain that. When you're saying door knocking software, what do you mean by that?
If I'm a sales rep selling roofs, the best way to sell roofs is door to door after a hailstorm. I want to be able to track every single door that I knock on. I want to say, did they answer the door? Did they, what was the homeowner name? What were they like? What was the feel? What time of day it was? If you're a door knocker, you know everything matters on that interaction. It could be 5 o'clock on a Monday and she could be in a bad mood, that wife, and she could slam the door in your face. I'm going to put a note, don't come back at 5 o'clock on a Monday, right?
Unless it's your buddy going there next, you know what I mean? The
van tell him to go there
at 5, yeah.
Didn't like my face or something. Something wrong with me. So it could be something like that. The van in the driveway, she could give me good feedback. Look, my husband takes care of all the home stuff. He's not home right now. And I look over the driveway, I see there's a van, and that's it. So van in the driveway means it's just the wife. Van and truck means it's the homeowner. You can even ask, what time does he get off work? Stuff like that. So it's notes that you can take. And these softwares, they're badass, right? So it sounds simple, but no, it'll be GPS integrated. You can zoom in on the house. You can typically get data off of those of like homeowner name. And then you can change you can typically, again, I haven't used one of these in a while.
Yeah.
So a lot of
it's
this
been a
is
while
estimated,
since he's actually
right?
been out there.
So
in
they
the
probably
field,
have
man.
way more data and stuff
Mr.
like that.
Lawyer, Mr. Tech Startup over here. It's been a while for him. He's turned into me to sit me on the computer talking the trades, dude. Hey?
So yeah, they should be loaded with technology that's going to
Yeah.
help you sell more jobs by being more efficient at door knocking. So that's the door knocking data. I feel like those inspection tools, those door knocking tools, those can be built into your CRM nowadays.
I'll give a shout out to Hailtrace, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our buddy Brandon Williams.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
big shout out to our boy.
Yeah,
One-
Brandon.
Yeah, one of the crew for sure. Another great tool. So if a storm does hit, to actually get accurate hail maps and know where to go and where to maximize those opportunities for sure.
That's almost huge for retail. I guess at least storm catching, they're huge. And Hailtrace has so much data. They have a door knocking tool built into Hailtrace. It's very underutilized. A lot of people don't use it as much as they should, but it's just as good, in my opinion, as any of the leading competitors that just do the door-to-door stuff.
Yeah.
And they are the best hail and wind maps in the industry, hands down.
Yep.
So Hailtrace is another one. Hailtrace is probably the first one I would go to because if you want to sell insurance restoration, you got to know where the storm was, right?
You got to know where it is. You got to locate it. And hey, the founder, Derek, man, he's a wild dude. He's on what, Channel 12 News or something like that.
Chasing
And
storms.
he's actually got the truck chasing storms. So this dude lives it. This guy was watching freaking news stormcasts at 5 years old or something like
He's
that,
crazy.
right? So that's the kind of people with those kind of passions that are creating these tools that you would be partnering with for sure. Now, I want to go into national claims advisors here quickly.
Yep.
But before we do, I do want to say, you mentioned this a couple times. I wasn't going to mention this, but it is a hot topic.
Yep.
And you kept mentioning it, exiting your roofing company.
Exiting your roofing company.
So what are the components that kind of allow you to have a valuable company that is worth someone purchasing? Because this is a major hot topic right now in roofing.
So right now, it's hot. Now's the time to sell. Now's the time to buy. If you look at it like anything else, real estate, right? Real estate has certain times in the market where it's really hot. So now is a time where you can get top dollar where it may not be that good of a product to sell. If it wasn't right now, if this was a year ago or maybe a year from now, I would say that build a business that you would buy. Pretty simple. Anytime you buy and sell something, it's got to have value. It's got to be purchased. It's got to be sellable, right? It's got to have scale. It's got to have systems. It's got to have processes. It's got to have data. Nowadays, in roofing companies, most roofing companies, they don't own anything but the loyalty of their sales reps, especially storm chasing. So you could be a $20 million roofing company today, and your 5 of your top sales reps or sales managers or general managers leave your company, and you could be a $2 million company tomorrow. And that's why it becomes really rough to buy and sell roofing companies in a normal market. But right now, there is so much hype, and it's such a hot topic right now.
Grant Cardone's even trying to get in.
Grant Cardone's chasing it. There's guys that are like Grant Cardone, and they're chasing liquidation. That's all they're chasing, right? It's something really simple. If you buy something, what do you buy it for? You buy it to sell it. So they're trying to get in and buy a bunch of roofing companies to turn around and sell them again. And they're going to sell them via IPOs, via hedge funds, via something else. Right? Or they're going to sell their data, or they're going to sell shit off of what they sell. So now is a time to sell. But again, I would build out your business in a way that you can sell it in any market. And that is going to be using great CRMs, having great technology, having great branding. You have to do the things, the differentiators. Think about your business, as a machine, not as a bunch of people. So would that run with any people in
Plug and
it? If
play.
I lost all my sales reps, would I still have sales? If I lost all my people, would I still be able to run this business? And you got to lean on technology, and you got to lean on brand.
And I think data too, right? So having clear financial overview,
Owning your data.
forecasting, all that kind of stuff. But if someone came in and was interested in purchasing a roofing company, being like, hey, this is how many leads we have, this is what our close percentage is, this is how many appointments that we're running, this is our average profitability per job, based off commercial and residential, this is our profitability split, we have this many maintenance contracts. That's all the kind of stuff that I'd want to be presenting in those meetings.
For my roofing company, I had metrics that would tell me my cost of acquiring a sales rep. So like literally down to the shirts that we give them, the paper clips that they use. We had a box that we would give them with everything. It's like a starter kit. Now
I love that.
Now you probably see them on an iPhone, but
Yeah.
we had a box, and it was their battle box, and it had everything they would need to be successful in it. That had a cost to it. We paid them weekly training. That had a cost to it, and they went out and did it. And we had an algorithm because we had data of how many would be successful. If I go hire 10, I know 3 is going to be successful. So I had a cost of acquiring a new sales rep, and then I had a really easy equation to figure out what they would make us, because the likelihood of what they would sell, our average sales back then, now this was 10 years ago, was $300,000 to $500,000. I think it was $385,000 was your average sales rep. So now I know what they're going to sell. I know what they cost me. I know how to scale, right? I know exactly my cost of scaling, because now I know the overhead to go open a new office somewhere, and I would be able to put data around that. And again, you can track that year over year, week over week, month over month, and you take all of that data, and you're not predictable. You're scalable. You could even break it down to an MRR type of situation if you have enough data from people like Hail Trace to know the probability of storms in your area. That shit goes back 100 years, 50 years, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So you can truly accurately predict your revenue over the next 5 to 10 years. And now that's something.
That's how you sell it.
That's
how you sell it, for sure. Thanks for sharing that, because I did want to touch on that for sure. Once I keep getting ads from Grant Cardone, so I figure it must be hot right now, right? And I got buddies that are hitting me up saying, "Hey, I'm getting offers."
Yeah.
And if they are, they're preparing to really have their mindset shift towards what can I do to improve the sellability and value of the company.
Yeah. Right? Look, there's a world. We had even talked about it. I would love to start some kind of consulting thing to where if you're a roofing entity or really any home service and you plan to sell, come on in and we'll help you get those data points. We'll help you change your business model in a way to be able to sell. So
which would be a great idea. Which would be a great idea, right? Because either way, even if you don't sell the company, you still want something that's valuable.
Because in tech, you have the Y Combinator, right?
Oh yeah.
You have all these. What was it called? An incubator, right?
Yeah, and that's Sam Altman. He's the one that runs it. He's the guy who started OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Didn't even know it, right? The Y Combinator is something that's out there in tech, and when you start getting outside investors into businesses, the biggest industry that does that is tech. 100%. So if you can build a business model to follow what they're doing, then you're going to be successful. So create your roofing company to run similar to a tech company, and you're going to get early investors, you're going to get midway investors, you're going to get they break it up.
That is a good idea. I do like that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because
the roofing combinator or something like that. The roofing incubator.
Roofing incubator,
Right.
right?
I mean, I like that.
Our
That sounds pretty good, right? Like where you literally have all the processes, the technology, the systems, all the rules to follow.
Pretty much everything Better Boss does.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not gonna lie. It seems like I do a little bit of everything at this point when I'm cleaning up cost codes in QuickBooks. But hey, it is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do, baby. I'm just here to win. That's all I care about. Try to get these companies to win, baby.
Love it.
All right. So now we can kind of transition to National Claims Advisors.
Yep.
Now, tell me a little bit about what you got going on there, right? And some of the problems that you guys are solving.
So insurance restoration, it's this weird world where roofing companies are trying to sell a roof to somebody who's not paying for the roof. But the insurance company is.
It's an easier sale, right? So there's not as much friction up front, but then you get some friction.
You get a lot of friction, right?
Yeah.
And on a residential property, most companies are residential roofing companies.
Yeah.
And same goes with insurance restoration. They're residential insurance restoration. And they find that the insurance companies come in and finding ways to stop paying for roofs, whether that's denying it outright, saying it's not damaged, whether that's delaying the claim, slowing it down, not paying it out in appropriate time schedules, or defending it after they've denied it and going to say that they're not going to pay anything. The insurance companies have gotten smart, and they've gotten in a way to where they don't like to pay for these roofs. So what happens when you add more money to that equation?
They don't like that.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, they don't like that. Right? More money, more problems, baby.
So
Notorious B.I.G.
It compounds, right? All the issues, all that friction compounds. So going from residential to commercial, it compounds. So there's always been big problems when it comes to commercial insurance restoration. And I've seen that because I was selling commercial for a long time as a roofing contractor. So there's these, and I believe in business. I believe in efficiency. And just like Elon Musk, if you solve the world's biggest problems, you'll make the most money. You know?
Amen. You get paid to solve problems. The bigger the problem, the more you get paid.
There you go. There you go. I think it's Elon Musk that said that, but that's
Probably.
Essentially when I see problems, I can't help but want to solve them. And National Claims Advisors solves the problem of insurance, of commercial insurance claims. What we've done is we take somebody that's actually respected by insurance companies. Who's the only one respected by insurance companies?
Lawyers?
Lawyers.
Yeah.
Insurance companies don't respect contractors.
No.
Let's be honest. Most people don't. Contractors get that chuck and destruct stigma where it's a rip shirt and it's just doing sloppy work. That's the way they're perceived for most people. We've got to understand perceptions, because perceptions are reality.
And that's how insurance...
That's how most insurance companies perceive contractors. Most insurance companies perceive public adjusters as in these leeches, I would say. That's not my word, but leeches.
Whose word is that? Whose word is that?
Probably theirs. They see them as, again, causing more friction, trying to juice the claim, being this middle person. But at least they are public adjusters and they are able to speak policy. So they do have a higher respect level and a higher authority level than contractors dealing with insurance companies trying to get them to solve the problems. Again, the problems are delay, deny, defend, or underpay. That doesn't have underpay. A lot of times it's straight up just underpaying claims. So public adjusters can help solve that problem because they can talk policy and they can represent the policy holder to try to get them to pay enough money. But again, they're like, I compare them to security guards, right? Like they're like mall cops. They can report, they can try to
Paul
tell, Paul Blart. The public adjuster can tell the insurance company what is right and wrong. They can say, oh, you're not doing this and you need to do this. And then they can write it down, but they can't do shit about it. Right?
Yeah.
And they also can't use...
So what's the point of that then, really?
Hope?
Yeah. like a negotiation piece they can pop.
Don't steal that. It works. Security guards wouldn't be a thing if they didn't work. At the end of the day, people steal less. People do the right thing because they know somebody's watching.
It's like a low-level solution to possibly solve something.
It is, and especially if it's done the right way. But like anything else, you find 95% of public adjusters are assholes and crooks. But that same can go with contractors or anybody else. Now,
Yeah, true.
when you move up the ladder, what can attorneys do? Attorneys can now argue law. They can argue the policy. They can argue the damage expert. So the same thing. A contractor is a damage expert. A public adjuster is a policy expert. And then a lawyer or an attorney is a legal expert. So the attorney can argue everything beneath them, but they're the only ones that can argue law. So that's going to give them more ammunition when it comes to adjusting the claims and trying to get the claims paid for. On top of all of that, they don't just report, they can actually do things to the insurance company. Litigation, right? A lawyer can sue the insurance company and hold them accountable, or at least have the courts hold them accountable for doing something wrong. So that's why, and attorneys are typically, just in all of society, not just insurance companies, looked at as a very high authority. They're respectable. They have to go through years of schooling, sometimes a decade of this, and then a lot of that has to do with ethics. They can lose their license just for doing something ethically or morally wrong. That is huge. There's a lot of trust given to lawyers. There's a lot of professionalism and a lot of respect given to lawyers. What we found is that the best person to deal with a commercial insurance claim is an attorney. Now, there's issues in that legal world because litigation and things like that. So and I say we because I'm a part of it, but I'm not an attorney. I don't own any of National Claims Advisors, and I don't do any kind of managing over the attorneys. The attorneys deal with all of the legal issues, and they deal with the adjusters. I just help run the business, right? Chief Revenue Officer, marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Is typically what revenue's over.
Bring in the revenue.
I run that in the systems and processes and stuff like that. But the lawyers, they run the lawyers.
Yeah.
So they came up with this business model for commercial, and it's a 10% contingency fee, and they represent commercial property owners to get to the insurance company to get them actually paid out on their claims. And what we find is the insurance companies actually respect us at National Claims Advisors, so they treat us differently, and we're able to settle with them and to come up with a plan to get these roofs paid for without having to go to litigation, without fighting. So it solved this problem by actually having proper representation. Because I will say, a lot of people beat up on the insurance companies. Insurance companies have a lot of challenges on their hands. And in this ever-changing world, it's hard to find good adjusters. It's hard to deal with crappy contractors. It's hard to deal with bad public adjusters. Hell, it's hard to deal with bad attorneys. So the insurance company, I don't believe that they're out to get anybody or screw anybody over. They're just trying to run their business the best way possible. And that causes a lot of friction on their end. So when they have somebody like us on that other side that they know that they can actually trust, thanks to the attorney's ethics, like to their schooling, like to their background, and the adjusters, because they can turn around to their boss and say, hey, look, this is an attorney on the file. They've done their investigation. They've done the right thing, and they can hold us accountable if we don't pay it out. I believe we should pay this out. I believe this is damage. I believe this should be paid this way. They can turn around to their supervisor and say, look, let's pay this out. And the supervisor is more likely to okay it. If you just put yourself in the position of that person, there you go.
100%. And when is the right time to give Allen Mick a call, right? In what situations? And then what does that relationship look like? Are you working directly for the contractor and communicating to them? Are you communicating to the insurance company? And then also make sure you're sharing some contact details for those who reach out.
We work directly with the policyholder, right? So the policyholder is our client. We are a law firm that signed up with the policyholder. So that policy, and the proper time to bring us in is before a claim ever happens. Some of the biggest issues with insurance restoration is bad underwriting. So if you have a portfolio of properties, and that's our ideal client, is somebody with a portfolio of commercial properties, and we go in and we photograph and we take historical data of that property before a storm ever happens. The commercial property we're in, what we want to do is we want to get pictures of it the way it is. And
that's a good selling point, too, for you contractors out there.
Yeah.
You say, hey, we have a law firm that's going to come in or what, right?
Yeah,
document everything
absolutely.
and protect you from the very beginning. That's huge.
Yeah, so we're not storm chasing anymore. We're storm catching.
Yeah.
So I create the model. We create the model where we're storm catchers. We want to go in and we just want to protect the portfolio of properties for the policyholders. And then, and only then, if a storm ever does hit, then we'll inspect it. And if there's damage that could cause a claim-worthy damage, then we advise our client to file a claim. Hey, you had 4-inch hail that just hit your property. It wasn't damaged before. It is now. We suggest you file a claim. Then we file the claim. So as early as before a claim ever occurs. Now, obviously, we get brought in at every step of the level.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time, we get brought in after a hailstorm. The client calls us, or the client gets referred by a contractor, one of the two. And the client calls us, and we go ahead and we file the insurance claim for them, and we go through the process. Sometimes the client will reach out after they've been underpaid on a commercial claim. They've been really getting delays, and there's been no payment or no decision whatsoever for months and months. You'd be surprised how much that happens. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Or if they've been outright denied on a claim. There's obvious damage. There's millions of dollars worth of damage, and the insurance company has just straight up denied it and said that it was bird poop or bird pecking or wear and tear. Yeah, this wasn't nailed properly, so it caused the hailstorm, which caused the damage.
Having those pictures in the documentation is going to solve a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Contractors refer us. We don't work for contractors. The contractors can't sign our contract. The contractors can't make them use us. But we do have contractors that have pleasant experiences with us on the file, let's say. Yeah. If you're a roofing contractor, we're on the file. We're typically going to get it paid for, and we're typically going to get it paid for more than the insurance company would normally pay because they underpay. They like to go in at that lowest price. If we work with a contractor on one, and again, work with them, is we don't really do much. We typically do their job for them. We're the ones getting them settled, and after it's done, then the property owner talks to the contractors. But they like us to be on the file.
Oh, I bet.
So as it's moving forward, if you've worked with me on one building, you're probably pretty likely to recommend my services to another property. And
Absolutely.
That's how we kind of work with contractors, or they may bring us in, or that's why. But yeah, so it's really easy to get a hold of us. You can Google us, National Claims Advisors. You can find our Facebook, National Claims Advisors, or just slide into my DMs, reach out to me. We're not hard to find.
No, you're a marketing guy. You're not hard to find. And I do want to, as we slowly wrap this thing up, I mentioned marketing, and we mentioned how you're a serial entrepreneur, right? And you have so much experience. And the way I look at it is you basically took all your experience in the roofing space, and you identified the problems you wanted to focus on solving, and you started to solve those with innovative solutions. So
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about Just Share Media and what you guys got going on there.
We got some exciting stuff happening at Just Share Media. So now, obviously, I'm CEO, founder of Just Share Media, which is a tech company. It's a SaaS, and what it does
You always wanted to get in SaaS.
Always
wanted to get in SaaS.
Always wanted to get in SaaS. It's a tech SaaS. It is the only home service gallery of stock videos, right?
Yeah.
The only home service gallery of stock videos. So we can say we're the largest because we're the only one.
Yeah.
But we've gone out and we filmed roofing jobs, solar jobs, home service jobs, and we created a library of those videos, and then we allow contractors to access those videos via a SaaS, right? A monthly fee. They get 1 video to 4 videos per month, depending on the subscription. So it's going great. I was blessed to have great partners, but we have some big news coming up. I can't talk much about it, but there's a merger that we're talking about.
See, when you tune into Construction Tech Talk, you hear all the rumors, all the big insights that are coming. So you heard it first. Merger coming.
Merger 2.0 of our website, our platform. We're still operating off of our MVP, right? We operated off our MVP for the first 2.5 years, and like any other MVP, it's not where it should be. So we've been working behind the scenes to develop our 2.0. I showed you a little bit of the
it looks sweet.
The editor. Yeah, so it's really cool. It's got a built-in editor now that's really robust, and it allows you to take that video that you have that's completely stock, completely generic, and add all of your licensing, customization, branding to it, and then download it within 5 minutes.
So I love that. I love that. And I'll tell you this, at a marketing standpoint, I went to school for marketing, had a marketing company. I don't even post images anymore.
Yeah.
I don't post any images because when you're looking at the engagement level and just the impact that it has on brands,
Yeah.
it's not very good compared to video. Video can tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And really create some engagement and get the value, which is more sales.
Yeah, and it's authentic, right? The biggest thing with us is we didn't want those videos of a guy in a button-up with a hat, with a construction hat and a clipboard, or
Which is what you
AI
get.
with 10 fingers.
Oh, yeah. 10 fingers is right. You should have 10 fingers.
On one hand.
Oh, on one hand. Okay,
On one
so,
hand.
so 20 fingers. You're
20
saying
fingers.
20.
Yeah, 10 fingers.
And I'll
on
tell you
one
this,
hand.
with AI, I learned why, but that is the biggest struggle is the hands. Is
Yeah,
the
the
number
hands.
one struggle for AI to create.
I don't know. Where to put my hands, right?
yeah.
So you know that it's real roofing videos. It's real solar videos. So you get that high quality video, and it's just, instead of paying thousands of dollars or paying thousands of hours to learn how to film these jobs, you pay $99 a month.
Check it out. And how can they check out Just Share?
JustShareMedia.com.
Boom.
It's probably even easier to reach. And you can actually sign up at JustShareMedia.com, pick your video, and download it all within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's pretty soon to be able to edit. Too,
Yeah.
if you
Well,
want
you
to
can edit it today. It's just the editor is not as robust as what it will be the
very
minute
shortly.
that we launch out our 2.0.
very shortly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. All right, as we close this thing out, and also too, if you're listening, you're enjoying it, make sure to subscribe, leave a review. We really appreciate it. This guy still owes me a review. I
do
figured
owe
this
a
would be a good
review.
time to mention it. He promised me. I'm not sure what those fireworks are there, but
I love it.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Right? It's so. All right. So I still end this. I've had a few podcasts now, right? I've been podcasting for a few years. We always end it on our golden nugget, right?
Ah, okay,
so
golden nugget.
Now it could be a quote, a book, a life lesson, a business strategy, a software tool, whatever it is. But let's leave them with something that's a good takeaway from this episode that they can utilize.
Yeah, so I'll go with some of the stuff we talked about with the CRM, right? Friction is the enemy of innovation. Go ahead and plant your seeds before you're hungry, right? Build your business today. Start with that in mind. Build your business today based off where you want to be 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now.
Forward thinking.
Forward
Thinking
thinking.
about the future. Think about where you want to go, and then that way you can plan the steps and strategies, partnerships, everything like that that are needed to get you to where you want to go. Keep that vision in mind from the very start, right? And if you do want to exit, think about those components that Allen mentioned, all right? So you have to remember, when we bring on guests here, right, Allen Mick, he has so much experience specifically in this space in so many different areas. And what he's doing now is he's creating innovative solutions and being part of teams and organizations that are doing the exact same thing. He's helping with insurance claims, helping with marketing and branding, doing all these things. This guy is a serial entrepreneur, Allen Mick, with National Claims Advisors and the CEO and founder of Just Share Media. This guy is an absolute legend. He is a household name in roofing, and we really appreciate him joining us. And hey, before we sign off, remember, with Better Boss, our whole goal is technological advancement in the trades and construction world, right? We want to take you into the future of what it's like of operating your business so you can be more profitable and scale more efficiently, all right? So check us out at betterboss.io. But that is it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Construction Tech Talk, signing off. Until next time.